Well, hello. Thursday night video again. I feel it's been forever since I've done a video. I had to take a couple Thursday nights off. I've hurt the MCL in my knee, so I've been trying to take it a little bit easy and not get out and about so much. So tonight's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've decided to do some hand sewing, but really not that much hand sewing. I want to show you how to use self-covered buttons. So self-covered buttons are probably the most underrated handy addition to particularly bag making that you can get. I use these a lot when I make bags and purses and clutches because these little guys here cover really well and they add this extra sort of little pop to your bag where a normal button fails a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to cover those and talk through what you need. So before we go on, the show comes up next weekend, the Craft Alive for Morayfield. We're excited to have Craft Alive come up to Morayfield. That will be at the conference centre that's in between sort of Bunnings and Aldi and Woolworths there, that little spot in the middle. Fingers crossed, everything going well with COVID, it will go ahead. So looking forward to being there. Friday, Saturday and Sunday next weekend, we will be at the Craft Alive show. In the meantime though, let's do some self-cover buttons. You will need, surprise, surprise, you'll need self-cover buttons, nice sharp pair of scissors. You know I love my duo marking pen, so fabric marking pen. Some DMC thread, so your stranded cross-stitch thread. Some sort of 200-gram cardstock paper, so it's a little bit cardy. It doesn't have to be blank. You can get empty Whippix pack or something like that. Something that's just a bit cardboardy. And you'll need a needle with an eye large enough that you can thread your stranded thread. Oops, I just pulled a strand out. We're running that DMC thread on 3 strands. So we're going to separate that thread into 3 strands like that to thread it. Okay, so self-cover buttons come in a few different styles and methods. What we range here, you know I like it, nice and cheerful when I pick sort of stock, things that I think you guys will love. These come ranging from little bitty ones that are 18 millimeters big, 15 millimeter, 38 millimeter, 29 millimeter. I didn't go in a very logical fashion there, did I? But as you can see, they come in all sorts of different sizes. You can also get metal self-cover buttons, but I find the plastic ones are easy to use and they do the job really, really well. So you'll need some of those, and not expensive. A pack of buttons, they all average around about $3, $50, $70, $3.70. Looks like they're all the same price, just different sizes. So $3.70 for your self-cover buttons. Now, there was one other thing you'll need. You will need a Whisper Weft, our old mate Whisper Weft, or something very similar. You can use ordinary fusible interfacing if you like, but it's probably just not fluffy enough. See how that's got that extra sort of floofiness about it? We want to give the fabric just a little something more than ordinary fabric, so your button actually feels a bit textured and great. So Whisper Weft is probably the right fit for you. It's not expensive. I think it's like $5 a meter, so it's a bargain. And honestly, I use it for everything, so have some in the cupboard. So I've grabbed some fabric out of my stash. Yeah, over here in the corner of the counter, we have bags of $10 scrap bags, and they're fabric pieces all about yay big, all chucked in a bag for $10, so you can use them for machine, embroidery, applique and stuff like that, and they're perfect for this sort of thing. So it's a great way to use up some of your scraps. So I've got my cotton patchwork fabric ironed to the Whisper Weft. Oh, that purple thread is cursing me, it's everywhere. So there it is. So your Whisper Weft is ironed to the back, and that's your fabric there, good to go. Alrighty, so let's demystify the self-cover button. So when you buy a pack of self-cover buttons, your packaging on the back has these circles on it. And what they would like you to do is, if we open this up, they would like you to get your packet. Most difficult thing in the world. There we go. They want you to get your packet, and depending on the size of the button that you've bought, so this is a 29 millimeter, they'd like you to cut the 29 millimeter circle template out. So if I get a packet of small buttons, so these guys here, so you can see this pack, it's the same pack. And it's got all the sizes and template in the back. So this button is a 15 millimeter button. So we would cut out the 15 millimeter circular template. So you end up with your back of your packet looks like this, and your button template looks like that. So the plan is that we're going to trace around that to make our button. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the fabric. We're going to trace around this to cut out our button material. So let's do that. So we're going to make our self-cover button out of some of this nice geometric here. Pop this down. And I love this geo marker because it's nice and easy to see. We're just going to draw around the outside of this little number like that. So jumping straight into it. Round we go. There is the circle for my template. Pair of scissors. And now this doesn't have to, the queen's not going to see this circle. So if it's a bit wobbly, don't stress. But we are just going to go straight up with our sharp scissors and just cut this circle out. Round we go. It's scintillating stuff, really, isn't it? There we go. Done. So now you have this circle sorted out. So with this circle cut out, the next thing we want is the DMC thread and needle. The thing about, when I do doll making and stuff, I actually use DMC thread for a lot of things where I want the thread to be strong. And in this instance, we do actually need a nice strong thread. So a normal thread probably isn't going to cut it. So I'm going to tie a nice little knot in one end of my thread. And yes, to my mate Danielle, who's messaging me right now, I think 10 o'clock is fine. All right, so now here we go. We're going to go ahead, and this is where the more attention to detail you pay here, the better your covers button's going to be. We're going to take this needle and thread and we're going to sew a series of running stitches right around the outside of this circle, and then when we draw it tight, the circle's going to gather up and let us cover the button. So it's tempting to go ahead and just do big ones like this and get it over and done with. And to be honest, anyone who knows me would imagine that's probably the first thing that I did. But the wrinkles will be too big and it won't curve around the button very well. So we're going to keep it close to the edge. And the thing about this Whisper Weft, it's going to stop the thread from just fraying out as we get to the edge. We're close to the edge just by a couple of millimeters, and we're just going to go around and just do a running stitch. Pull it up onto the needle, and even that's probably just a little tiny too big, but just for expedience, through we go and keep on going around the outside. So while I stitch this around the outside, when we're at the craft show, we've got a big stand set up just to show people who we are, and we're going to have all our machines on our stand. So if you have some stuff that you'd like to show off, so if you have a sewing club or a craft group or an embroidery group or a crochet group, and you would like to hand some flyers out, please bring them to the shop and I will put them on the stand. If you, how's that? Don't prick myself. If you have something that you've made, we'd love to put it up as a display so people can see it, so we can show off your cool creation. So whether it's something that you've made and you'd like to promote the fact that you make it and sell it, if it's something you'd made and you just want to show off the fact that you made it, if you could please bring it down to the shop. Do you see this where I cut myself today? My poor finger. If you could please bring it down to the shop before Thursday next week, we would be very, very proud to have that up on display so everybody can see it while they're walking around the craft show. So if you want to buy tickets to that too, you can get them from the Craft Alive Facebook page and website. Just look up Craft Alive. But Craft Alive is one word. So when you're Googling it, just type the one word together. Alrighty, so as you can see, I've cut a few corners here at the end, but look, you can see I've gone around the outside and done that little running stitch to catch that all up. And now that is probably the hardest part of the cover button or self-cover button done. So now we're going to pull this up a little bit so it makes like a little shower cap almost. So see, we're just slowly gathering up all the stitches and just spreading it out if you need to with your fingers until we get a nice little sort of cup situation going on there. See that? All right, so now we're going to go ahead and grab one of the self-cover buttons from here. So the plastic tab on the back, if you just apply a bit of gumption, it'll pop off like so, and then push out the button. And there's two sides to this, one with all the teeth. Oh, can you see that? One without the teeth and one without. We want the one with all the teeth to be facing inwards when we push it together. This little dealio in here, just slip it in the little cup that we've made, and then just holding that button so it doesn't go anywhere. You can see why we need that DMC thread now. If we did this with a normal thread, it would literally just break while we're pulling it up nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead and pull up that, get a little bit of a wiggle, pull it up. Can you see what we've done there? So because we've done smaller stitches, we've got a better gather around the outside of that button edge. So pull that tight. When we get to here, I'm going to pull this across the button so that it just pulls tight and inwards. So I've pulled that thread across the button, holding it with my finger and thumb, and then this little dealie goes on to the center of the button. And, oh, hang on, I've got the thread caught on the center of the button. Silly penny. Silly penny. There we go. And so back onto here with this little tab, push it on, and then give it a clip down. Good hard push. So I'm really giving that a push with my thumbs in the little recess, like so. And then this little loose thread here, go ahead and just, what are we going to do, Christine? We're going to chop it. Here we go. And so there we have a self-cover button. How cool is that? So you can imagine if you've got this and you've got a handbag, instead of just having a clasp with a clip, or even if you have used a cam snap, there's no reason why you can't, with a pair of pliers, cut off this plastic back here. I use a little Dremel tool and just chop that off. Hot glue gun here, or Tarzan grip is brilliant for it, and glue it to the cam snap so that every time you open and close the flap, the cam snap's doing all the work, but the cover button is hiding that far side of the cam snap. So highly recommend a self-cover button for lots of sewing projects, but particularly for bags and purses and clutches. It looks really, really cool. I also use them for jewelry. I'll use that and actually glue that onto a bow or something. And it also makes a good hairband. If you can drill out this hole a little bit more, put 2 of them on a piece of the round elastic we sell here, and you've made yourself a cute little sort of hair tie brand as well. So self-cover buttons. Before we rock off and finish though, I want to talk to you about this template. So how did I lose it in this short period? There it is. Short period of time. Okay, so this is the template you use to cut out your fabric for your button, which is what we did with this guy here. But sometimes you might want to use material with a pattern like our little lovebirds here, and you might actually like to have your button so that one of these little birds is the star of the button, right dead set in the center. It's very hard with this little guy to guesstimate where the bird is going to be. So when I do fussy cutting, which is what we're doing now is called, instead of using a template like this, I will take the negative, which is this one, and use that to mark my fabric instead. So instead of doing this and trying to guess, I can do this and work out exactly where my little bird is going to be, so that I can then get my pen and draw around it. Do a great job, like so. And now my bird's going to be in the center of my button. Now the reason that I told you to get some of this cardstock, Whippix packet or whatnot is this template is a little frays out and gets worn out really quickly because we had to cut into it to cut the button out, and it's also handy to keep for the instructions. So I have cut a round template out of here and used that to position to find, oh, how cute is that, to find the right sort of place for my button. So this sort of fussy cutting, so fussy cutting is where you want the pattern to get, the fabric to get cut such a way that the pattern does its job, in this case this little bird here, and it doesn't have to be just this sort of stuff that you use this for. If you want to do patchworking and you want to get your blocks, your 4-inch blocks, to have the pattern exactly in the middle on your fabric, cut a 4-inch block out of some cardstock and use that to put it where you want the pattern to be. Alright guys, I think that's done the job for today. Super highly recommend some self-cover buttons to add a little bit of glam to what you're doing. Very easy to do, and all sorts of sizes, so lots and lots of applications for them to make things look even more cool. Alrighty peeps, if I don't see you beforehand and I do bump into the show, please make sure you say hi. If you enjoyed the video tonight, please give us a thumbs up. It helps us out a lot, and share it with your friends so they can get some help from that as well. And as usual, thank you to the people who stop in just to say hi because they watch the videos. I love making them, and if I didn't have to sleep, I would make them all the time because it's one of my favorite things to do. Alrighty peepies, and I will catch you later. Bye.